Hey everyone, my name's David and this is Fate Unbound, and we are camped at the beautiful Nelson Morley Snake River Birds of Prey National Conservation Area. Whoa, that's a mouthful, and it is a very hot day, so I'm hiding out under the awning for this video. And today we're going to be talking about why you should convert your Honda inverter generator to propane. And the great thing about this conversion is that it still allows you to run on gasoline at any time or switch to propane whenever you want. So it doesn't get rid of its gasoline feature, it just makes it more of a dual fuel generator. Nearly 5 years ago, we released a video of a step-by-step guide on how to convert a Honda EU 2200i inverter generator to propane using the Hutch Mountain conversion kit. And that is actually the fourth most popular video on this channel out of hundreds of videos we've made over the years. And so since so many people are interested in converting these generators to propane, I decided to make another video just to explain the benefits and why you should also do that conversion. And I'll go ahead and post a link to that video in the description below if after this video you want to watch that, just to see how easy installing this propane conversion kit is on these generators. Even a schlub like me can do it, no problem. And what's really cool is the promo code in that video to save $15 on this kit is actually still working. So if you use promo code FATE at checkout, you can get $15 off this kit, save yourself a little bit of money. Now, the main reason we did the propane conversion on this generator is because as RVers, we always have propane on hand, and not just a little bit, we have a lot of propane. On this travel trailer, I've got two 30-pound cylinders, and so we're always lugging around a lot of propane, and this kit made it so we didn't have to carry a gas tank with us. We didn't have to, gobble up some of the finite amount of storage that we have in our RV and in the back of the truck for a 5-gallon gas tank. And that was a big deal for us because our truck is a diesel truck. And so there was no reason for us to have gas on hand except for the generator. So being able to get rid of that was one of the big things for us. Another big reason to switch to propane is that you don't really get a lot of runtime out of these when you're on gasoline because you're limited by just how small the gas tank is in these generators. They're less than 1 gallon. Honda claims that you can get about 3.2 hours at full load and roughly 8 hours around a quarter load. And so if you've ever used one of these generators to run your air conditioner or some other really high draw appliance, you'll find throughout the day that you got to go back outside, fill this gas tank back up so the generator shuts off, your air conditioner shuts off, your RV starts heating back up, you got to put the gasoline in, fire it back up, and then get back inside to where it's cool. It can be pretty annoying on really hot days when you're running the air conditioner all the time. And also, I think we can all agree that modern portable gas tanks are just so annoying with the weird systems that are on them to keep them from venting gas to the atmosphere. They typically have like a little button you have to push or you catch on the tank to open it up, and so by touching all that stuff, it can be really difficult to not walk away from filling one of these up with a newer gas can without getting gasoline on your hands, and that stuff just doesn't wash off. You can't just soap and water the smell of gas off of your hands. That sticks around the whole day. But with propane, you have a massive fuel tank. You've got a 20-pound cylinder typically, and in our case, a 30-pound cylinder. And Hutch Mountain claims that you can get 12 hours at full load. So that'll get you through an entire day running the air conditioner off of a 20-pound cylinder, 22 hours of runtime at half load, and 33 hours of runtime at a quarter load. And if you're able to upgrade to a larger cylinder like we do, then you get 50% more runtime, which is 6 times the runtime off of this tank, this small 1-gallon tank using gasoline. That is a huge deal. You can run the generator all day. You can run it multiple days, maybe even full weeks if you're using it constantly, off of one single propane cylinder. The convenience of all of that alone is enough reason to make the switch. Gasoline also degrades over time, and so if you're not using it constantly, it could be a consideration. Now, it does take about 6 months for the gasoline to sit in a can for it to really matter, but propane can sit in these cylinders indefinitely and it will not go stale. So you don't even have to worry about that. You don't have to mess around with putting stable in your gas tanks. You know, that's increased cost, just another thing you have to take care of. And also stale gas is just harder on these small generators and can lead to more buildup inside of the carburetor, whereas that buildup and varnishing you don't have to worry about with propane. You know, propane is just a cleaner burning fuel. You know, we've all seen King of the Hill. Hank Hill is all about propane and propane accessories, and you know what? So am I. So not only is it cleaner burning in the engine, but when it comes out through the exhaust, that is seen in less odor, less smelling exhaust. And so, you know, like on a day like today, it's hot. I've got the max fan on high, so it's pulling air in through the windows. If the wind is blowing towards the travel trailer from the generator, you know, that exhaust from the generator is just going to get pulled right in through the windows. And with propane, you just don't even have to worry about it. It doesn't smell. It smells a little bit just because of the stuff they put in the propane, but you barely notice it, if at all, whereas the gasoline exhaust, it just smokes you out of the whole RV, and it's not something that you can just put up with at all. It's terrible. So you got to like move the generator to the other side if the wind changes directions, or you got to close that window. You know, you don't even have to deal with it with propane. Another thing that's really nice about this kit is if you have to make any adjustments to the regulator, it's really easy. There's just a screw right here on the back that you turn one way to increase the flow of fuel, or you turn the other way to decrease the flow of fuel. You can just do it all with one flathead screwdriver. It takes no time at all. Whereas when you're running this on gasoline, you know, it shouldn't need any adjustments, but if the carburetor starts to get a little wonky, that's a whole nother thing that you have to deal with. And you know, when you're running this off of propane, the carburetor inside of this isn't really doing anything. So fuel adjustments are not even a consideration. It's super easy. Now let's talk about some of the concerns there are with running your generator long-term on propane versus gasoline. And the first is the cost of fuel. I wish I could tell you that running these generators off of propane was cheaper than gasoline, but I can't. And that's because the cost of fuel is completely dependent on where you live. In some states, some areas, you can get propane for way cheaper than gasoline. And then in some other states, gasoline may be cheaper than propane. It just really depends on where you're at. Personally, I found that the price of propane and gas is typically about the same, except in some states you can get propane way cheaper than gasoline, like California. Gas is just really expensive there. And then in some states like Texas, there are certain areas, especially along the Gulf Coast, where gasoline is really cheap. You can get it right now for under $3 a gallon, whereas propane is around $3.50-ish typically per gallon. And so, yeah, it just really depends. Bottom line is, you're probably going to break even on fuel cost. So it's not really a pro, not really a con. Another concern is that there is a slight power loss when running a generator on propane as opposed to gasoline. And that's just because propane is less energy dense than gasoline. Lower quality propane conversion kits, you'll lose about 10 to 12%, but Hutch Mountain, however, claims that there's only a 3 to 5% power loss on their high quality propane conversion kits. And I believe them when they say that the power loss is nearly negligible on their kits, and that's because we've just been using it for almost 5 years now, running it on propane. The running wattage of the Honda EU 2200i is 1800 watts continuous, and our air conditioner uses roughly 1,300 to 1,500 watts while it's running. It's a 13,500 BTU air conditioner. And the computer that I use to edit video on while I'm editing video or using some other really intense process on the computer, it will pull as much as 280 watts. And so you know, that's right around that 1,800 watt continuous output of the generator, and it does it no problem. It just throttles all the way up to full throttle, and I haven't seen any issues with that. And so I believe Hutch Mountain that their losses are nearly negligible. Some people also have some concerns about engine life when running their generators on propane long term, and that's because propane does actually burn hotter than gasoline. Not by much, but it is hotter. But also consider, you know, what we've all learned from Hank Hill over the years about how clean of a burning fuel propane is. It's proven that it creates less soot, less carbon buildup, and less oil contamination in an engine than gasoline does. And so running your generator off of propane instead of gasoline could actually result in longer fuel life because of those reasons. Hutch Mountain claims that there are no concerns running these Honda generators off of propane. And, you know, we've been running it off of propane for 5 years now. You could see how beat up our generator is. You know, we've had that thing for 5 years, and yeah, we do put it to good use, and there are no problems. And another thing to keep in mind is that the stock nickel copper spark plug that comes on these Honda generators really isn't up to snuff to burn propane to its full potential. You really need an iridium spark plug, and so that's something you're going to want to swap out if you do the conversion. But I mean, honestly, you should be switching to iridium spark plugs on a generator anyway, just because they're just better in every way. They're a little more expensive, but when you're talking $5 for a copper plug versus $15 for an iridium spark plug, you know, it doesn't really matter, especially when you take into account how much longer iridium spark plugs last than copper ones. Honda recommends that you change the spark plug every 200 hours, and again, that's for the copper plug. However, iridium spark plugs last about 4 times longer, and so they'll last about 800 hours of runtime, and that's totally worth it because that's 4 times longer for 3 times the cost, so it economically makes sense. And then also when you take into consideration just less maintenance, you know, it's just less time that you have to spend maintaining the unit. Yeah, man, get an iridium spark plug for it. Now, throughout this whole video, you may have been asking yourself, dude, they make dual fuel generators. Why not just get one that already runs propane or gas so you don't have to mess around with a conversion kit? And my answer to that's pretty simple. Honda is just the king of small engines. They really are, and they have been for decades. You cannot argue against Honda quality, especially on these small engines. If you maintain them correctly, they'll run forever. We all know that. And that's why I would rather purchase one of these Honda generators and then perform this conversion kit on them so that I don't have to worry about my generator dying, or, you know, this thing is just gonna do its job day after day, year after year, and I don't have to worry about it. We've had generators in the past that weren't Hondas, and it was pretty obvious that they were much lower quality than the Honda. And so, you know, when we got the opportunity to get one of these, we just did. And that's my recommendation to you too. Instead of messing around with a brand that doesn't have the build quality, the proven track record that Honda has, to just get one of these, perform the conversion on them, and never worry about it again. So now, after watching this video, if you want to check out the step-by-step video we made 5 years ago on how to do the propane conversion kit, just to see how easy it is, go ahead and watch that. Again, there's a link down in the video description below. And if you want to pick up the Hutch Mountain propane conversion kit for your Honda generator, again, that promo code is FATE. Use it at checkout and you can save $15. But again, my name's David. This is Fate Unbound. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was really helpful. Gave you a lot of insight on why it's such a good idea to convert to propane, especially if you're an RVer. If you're an RVer and you always have propane on hand, there's just no reason not to do it. I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. But like I said, it's a really hot day today. It's getting to be midday. I'm turning the air conditioning on so we can finally cool off. Oh geez, I'm gonna get this generator set up now.